You're listening to Built to Convert, the podcast where growth-minded marketers, founders, and creators come to level up. No hype, no guesswork, just bold insights that drive results. Let's go.
Welcome to Built to Convert, the podcast where we explore how strategy, analytics, and creativity come together to drive meaningful growth. I'm your host, Tyler Lane, founder of Session Interactive, and each episode we sit down with marketers, founders, and operators who are building real momentum inside today's most interesting companies. This episode is brought to you by Session Interactive, the performance marketing agency for brands that are serious about growth. Whether you're in B2B, SaaS, DTC, e-commerce, or anywhere in between, we help marketing teams cut through the noise with smarter SEO, paid media, AI integration, and analytics that actually drive revenue. Learn more at sessioninteractive.com. All right, today we've got Melanie Draheim, who is the CMO of Fox Communities Credit Union, where she leads brand, digital marketing, analytics, and community engagement for one of Wisconsin's largest member-owned financial institutions. She's part of a growing series here on Built to Convert, featuring credit union marketing leaders alongside guests like Tansley Stearns and a variety of others who are rethinking how financial institutions build, trust, and drive growth. Melanie brings 1 or 2 years of experience here, so we'll, as an understatement, and we'll dive right in. Melanie, great to have you. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We like to start off each episode with just a little overview in terms of your career. You spent about 15 years in health insurance before moving to credit unions. That was an interesting topic with Pam, the CMO of Navy Federal. She was in agencies before moving to credit unions. Yeah. So we like to hear that transition story. What prompted the move? Was it intentional? Were you just like, hey, I need to break away from health insurance, switch it up? Talk to us about that.
Right. Well, I just really love highly regulated industries. That's what it comes down to.
Huge fan.
Right? Yeah, exactly. No, I think I originally got into healthcare for the helping people aspect of it, honestly, and really kind of why I got into marketing was how it can help people by connecting them with what they need. So spending a lot of time in that space in healthcare, I was very passionate about it. And enjoyed it quite a bit. Marketing being the constant, but also product development, sales, and strategic planning, and understanding how that all fits together. Through the transition, I will say I wasn't seeking out, now I want to go into financial services.
Sure.
One thing led to another, honestly, through connections and relationships, and an opening for a chief marketing officer role. So looking at how I could grow outside of the space I had been in and been so close to was a really exciting opportunity. How can I use what I learned in this space of helping people and then translate it into financial services where that is still a constant was really intriguing to me. And it doesn't get more personal than your health and your money. So I think that's it.
Yeah, I couldn't see the correlation there, but you've articulated it very well. I love the highly regulated industry comment as well. Hey, you built a team at Network Health. You started with a few, and then you built it to, I think, over 14 or so. Talk to us about that process. What worked well? What was, in so many words, what broke during that process too? I think that's always tough when you scale that quickly. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, definitely. So when I started at Network Health, we really didn't have our own brand or brand identity. So we were breaking away from a health system that we were under at the time, and our brand was the health system. So that really brought on not just building the brand, but building the team. So I came in early on, and the team was 2 or 3. And then over time, working with really great partners and agencies certainly helped us build success. And then kind of building out the team, part of the process was actually this piece could be in-house and we could be more efficient while we always still work with agencies on certain things.
Sure.
Some of those pieces both helped personally people grow who wanted to grow in other areas, but then also helped us grow as a company because we were able to do those things in-house.
I love that. Yeah, that's a really important note. You I guess talk to you about kind of that when you think about that transition in from healthcare into credit unions. What was that single biggest like healthcare marketing initiatives that that taught you or that you learned that you were able to apply to financial services, and then what were things that you had to learn net new?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So I think the one to carry over is really a marketing fundamental, but it's talking to your members more than ever, right? So we spent a lot of time at Network Health in like the co-creation space of let's go out to the farmers markets and actually ask people, like, they hate health insurance. Like, people hate it. It's just one of those essential things that you don't want to have to deal with. So let's talk to people about that and how they feel about it and figure out how we can change that, remove the jargon and those types of things. So I think that very much carried over. Financial services, also complex. There's a lot of, like, people don't want to have to deal with it. Again, how do we make it easy? And talking to people, data is so important. I love the numbers in the data, but sometimes sitting down with someone, you learn a lot more than just the numbers by themselves.
Totally. Yeah, it is. I mean, more and more of these correlations are coming about. It's like health insurance. Yeah, maybe a necessary evil, right? Not to say that, but just saying you have to have it. And a lot of people don't want to talk about it, or like, yeah, I have it, and it's frustrating kind of thing. And the same thing with financial services too. It's like, yeah, I've got a bank or I've got a credit union, and whatever. And I think there is more to it in terms of trying to develop that partnership or that relationship with a client or a particular patron, so to make sure that there's active involvement and you're not kind of overwhelming them, but still probably playing that role. Hey,
exactly.
Let's transition here, Melanie. Let's get into kind of the weeds in terms of differentiation, when products are table stakes specifically.
Yes.
So, I think about myself, when I'm looking and shopping for let's say I'm shopping for a home or a car. It's like, what do I care about? I care about a lot of things, but from a financial standpoint, I care about rates. So like rates, fees, core products, things like that, where consumers are kind of start their comparison. What do you feel actually moves the needle in acquisition versus what just reinforces loyalty for members who are already in kind of that threshold?
Yeah. So I think this actually applies to kind of both spaces I was in, that there are the products, there is the price, there's always that, but I'm a believer that it's much more about the people. And when we think even about like what behavioral science has proved, that we think we're really rational, but when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, we make decisions emotionally and then we justify them with facts. So how do we tap into that to help someone either feel less stressed, not left out, feel like they've got it, while also having them act and do the things we want them to do? So I kind of always like cringe when I see price as the only factor that like a campaign's built on, because it's like, yeah, that's one thing, but that's not sustainable to compete on that forever. When your product's a commodity, how do you differentiate yourself resonating with people? And that is so much more important.
It is. And it's just, that's a theme that we've seen throughout this series too. It's just like, it seems obvious and rather cliche, but it's like, it's hilarious. It's not hilarious, but it's amazing how many marketing leaders and other individuals just neglect the basics in terms of talking to individuals and understanding their habits and their traits and where they really want to focus in on.
Yeah.
Bring in context as it relates to brand. What does brand mean to you, Melanie? I know, you're in a position where acquisition or, making sure you're getting individuals opening accounts and making sure you're having individuals participate in a HELOC or a CD, those type of things that we see on a continuous basis. How does brand play into that when let's say you're in a scenario, it's like you're so focused on hitting a particular lead number, right?
Yeah.
That at the end of the day, that there's a larger story to tell, or you have to maintain this narrative, and brand is hard to attribute in terms of success. Talk to us about what it means to you and how it's essential to what you do.
Yeah. So I think just average people, when they hear the word brand or think of brand, they think of the marketing aspect of it. And it's not marketing. It's not. I mean, marketing can amplify it.
Sure.
But it can't build it, because in my view, brand is every single touch point someone has with your company and how they feel when they hear your name or see you about that. So it's not so much the logo or the messaging or that, like that can certainly help, but it's this whole experience of it. And to translate it kind of to the product component, I always we're so close to it as marketers, like you're in the products, you're so close to it, but then we forget that no one's waking up in the morning thinking, you know what I need? I need a HELOC. That's what I need.
Totally.
No one is thinking about your products, even though you're thinking about them all the time. They're just not. So from a messaging and differentiation perspective, for us, we've really focused on what is that actual want that person has, and maybe they don't know what they need when it comes to a financial product or service or whatever that might be, but they know what they want, and that want usually isn't the product. It's something like, I want to save so my kids can see the ocean for the first time on vacation, or I want to walk my daughter down the aisle, so yeah, we need money for the wedding, or I want to start a life with my significant other, so we need those are the things people are thinking about. Not so much, I need a savings account. That's what I like, right? So I think a lot of ways it's how you look at it, and we have to be close to it, but then also trying to step away and put yourself in the average person's shoes.
Exactly, and these stories that I think you're going to is these kind of trying to uncover what people's goals are, right? And it's maybe they don't even they know financial aspects are tied to it, but they're thinking more holistically, or you're mentioning I'd love to, I love that example. I'd love to have my kids see the beach for the first time. And what does that take? Well, I got to work harder, but it's okay, let's make some wise financial decisions to try to get you there faster. And so you can have them see it multiple times, right? Kind of
exactly.
Thing. Yeah. Do you hear, so how do you, I'm curious in terms of how you're getting a lot of that user information, or is it through survey technology? Is it through the brand managers and their correspondence and their conversations with patrons? Talk to us about that.
Sure. Yeah. So multiple ways. I mean, certainly surveys, data from that. We do those regularly, both just existing members, new members, onboarding. And that's helpful, right? Directionally kind of going back to the data. That's helpful. But then there's the more in-person sit down. And even an example, we were marketing our commercial business line for the first time last year. So instead of this is what we should say about it, I personally went and sat down with some of our business members and talked to them about why did you pick us? How would you describe us to someone else, another business owner, if they asked you about us? What would you say? So understanding in their words what that sounds like or feels like, and even being close to the branches or getting feedback from them. Now we'll hear, hey, so-and-so came in and asked them how they heard about us, and they said ChatGPT. It's well, that didn't come in on a survey yet right away, but just that anecdotal feedback is helpful too.
Yeah, it's funny how we're, all these progressive technologies are out there, but we're needing to revert back to more traditional or theoretically archaic practices of asking people, right? Where, especially with large language models, attributions is still very difficult. So asking people and novel concept, having a conversation with someone,
right. And sometimes it's not asking someone what they want either. I think that is sometimes a common mistake, because maybe they don't know, but it's more just observing or understanding where they're at, what their goals are.
Yeah, and their behaviors and habits. Yeah, I love that.
Yep.
Let's go back to kind of the earlier point before around pressure. I guess pressure around you have this lead goal that you you need to adhere to, but you're
Yep.
balancing brand investment, and maybe it's a significant amount of recurring investments, but
Sure.
you've got this short-term promotion idea or certain things that are going to help hit that lead goal, and you're getting pressure from higher ups and other areas to hit these metrics, but you need to justify your ongoing brand investment. How do you articulate that and make sure that there's constant awareness around and focus around the brand, and you don't lose sight of it for short-term goals?
Yeah. It's a balance, right? Like a lot of things in marketing, it has to be a balance. So we have to measure performance. We want to know that the things that we're doing are working. From a brand aspect, we do measure brand trust. So at least there is some type of metric to put to, okay, like how do we benchmark against others? Like just asking, like, do you trust us? Like, would you trust us to do the right thing for you?
Sure.
What does that look like? So, but I think it's very much a balance of the investing in both. I also like not chasing metrics that don't mean anything. So are we driving growth and looking at the right things? We've got so much data though, like carefully not just getting lost in it is another piece. And I have a kind of a phrase that stuck with me that like, let's stop chasing clicks and start creating connections that convert. Like connecting with someone usually converts. Like, did those 20 clicks, like, did those help somebody? I don't know. Like what's the rest of it, right? So I think it's balancing those measures, those metrics, but also measuring the full impact. And at the end of the day, are we helping people? How many people are we helping?
Yeah, I love that. And we're hearing that a lot too, in just in terms of monitoring trust specifically. And you're spot on and quite progressive in terms of your understanding of the metrics, because I think we can all get so fixated on it's going up and to the right, it's impressions and clicks and traffic and those are still KPIs, but they're becoming far more vanity metrics than what we really fixate on, which are engagement and conversions, right? Instead of just these. How much traffic do we get, right? Or how many followers do we have? Kind of thing. Isn't that funny?
Especially, it's funny, especially now in the way that marketing has evolved. Like there was a time more probably where people kind of more neatly fit into your funnel per se of what you like. Okay, they do the thing. There wasn't maybe as many channels you could track. Now it's like they're all over the place, and that's just what it's going to be. So to try to say like, oh, that thing did that thing, like probably not.
So totally.
It's probably a bunch of different things. So really understanding that and not getting frustrated. Like attribution is hard. So that's just the way people are. Like people don't fit neatly into a box and do the specific things. That you're playing.
And I think now, right, with large language models, a lot of adoption is still in its infancy or the early innings, but you see more and more individuals have more understanding or be empowered with more research, and then being able to make their decision, which attribution is becoming, it's like, oh, they converted through paid ad, but they actually did all of their research via large language models, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, exactly.
It's a tough one. Switching gears here a little bit, I want to talk about the MEL method and what you put together there, which is pretty cool. Is built, it's built around the idea and that purpose and performance compounds, right?
Yes.
We did some due diligence on our end. Give me some specific examples where that was actually true in results, not just in brand sentiments. I'm curious your thoughts around that.
Sure. So I think overall, my kind of, I guess, passion or like thought process behind getting this out there is a lot of noise in marketing right now and a lot of stuff we're trying to keep track of. And we talk about metrics, performance, and all that. And that's good and that's great. And that can certainly help you. But I've seen like commoditized industries, right? Like you could build a campaign just on that data point or price and that thing, and it could perform like fine and well, but it could be even better if you actually first like have the right mindset of what you're trying to do, talk to your people, empathize with them and what they're going through. So then you're using the right data and the right logic to drive that campaign forward even more successfully. So I'll just, I guess, an example.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Is we kind of created some new brand ads my first year at Fox, and they didn't have rates in them at all.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a like, oh, we're not going to talk about the rates. Like, no, we're not. But it was more about what we talked about of like, what are those wants in someone's life that they're looking that they need to make progress. So, and then we were able to measure some of the impact of that media. Again, kind of like, how do we use the data? But we didn't just start with the data first. Like, we're like, what are we trying to achieve? What's our message? What are people looking for? Let's talk to some members. Okay, now let's message that, and then let's measure kind of the before and after to make sure we're driving things forward.
Yeah, let's test. Let's see what hits. I guess that brings up too is just what you mentioned earlier. There's a lot of noise, and I think that this is the most noise we've all experienced in our careers in terms of marketing of these new tools, these new platforms, channels, etc. I guess, how do you, we're all excited too, I think for the most part. I think people share that sentiment, some more than others. Some are maybe doom and gloom as it relates to large language models and other things. But how do you balance kind of that shiny object that you're like, oh man, this could be a game changer, but but still staying the course on what works? Is there kind of a testing methodology or philosophy that you have, Melanie, at Fox? Talk to us about that and how you justify allocating budget towards things like that.
Yeah, I think, again, going back to balance, it's a balance.
Of course.
I'm a huge fan of testing, or even A/B testing, whether it be messaging or even like website stuff or campaigns. Like, maybe we assume something, but until we actually test it.
Sure.
And even if maybe it worked 5 years ago, it could change. So I think anytime you have the ability to test is awesome. Now, you don't always have the time. So sometimes you have to balance the timing. Okay, let's use what we know. Let's use our gut. Let's use our instincts, what we've learned, our experience. We're not going to retest, but we're going to learn. And then next time, okay, we have a little bit more time. Let's add an element of testing in that. I'll give you like an example. So like, we do auto recapture, like a lot of credit unions, financial institutions do. So we tested 2 messages, an email, one highlighting the rate. What's the rate? What's your drop in rate going to be? And then one saying like, this is what you're going to save per month, like dollars, right? Let's hypothesize. People don't want to do math. Let's not make them do math. Like, we understand the rate thing, but how and it was the payment one that won, right? Sure. Like, now I understand per month I'm going to save X amount versus what's the rate? How am I going to calculate that? That's going to equal this. Like, let's try to make it easy for people. So
I love that. Yeah, the simplified component. It is wild how we tend to, as marketers, in certain cases, we tend to overcomplicate things.
Yes.
Just like, when does simplicity not win, Melanie? Right? It's like,
when does it? Yeah, I know.
It always, come on.
It does. It does. Yep.
I remember my early days in marketing, working on like complex demand gen nurture flows with email marketing automation tools. And it's like, at the end of the day, like, the most simplistic campaigns won. And it was like all this overly convoluted stuff was just like, so unnecessary. So,
right. Yeah, it's like humans work a certain way, so we can tap into that. Or what? And what's the quote? If I had more time, I would have made it shorter or something.
I love that.
Again, it's like the shorter, the more simple we can make it.
Totally. Let's switch gears and talk about like kind of teams and leadership, Melanie, because you bring obviously a robust amount of experience, and go back to kind of our earlier point around, you came from one very highly regulated industry into another one. In certain cases, executives are going to treat marketing teams as a cost center for the most part. How do you establish credibility, or how did you establish credibility, Melanie, when you came in? Obviously, you brought a wealth of experience, but not in financial services specifically. So where maybe perhaps leadership is obsessed with results as they should be, but how do you kind of establish that credibility right away within, let's say, your first 6 to 12 months at Fox specifically?
Sure. So I think one thing, and now I'm getting close to it, so I probably couldn't say this anymore, but I think one thing initially I did bring was that I wasn't close to it. So if we're looking at like, okay, what does the average person think of our brand, or what are they trying to do in life? I had that perspective for a bit. So I think that helped. But I think again, going back to the human element, that's a big piece of just marketing in general. But I think for most marketing teams to be, again, not seen as a cost center or hey, make this pretty, make the logo bigger. We have to market the marketing.
Yes, so totally.
We have to market what we're doing, and like we're measuring things. We've got the dashboards. Sometimes we forget. We have to cascade that up. We have to talk about what we're doing. So a lot of what I did when I started was understanding, like, what are we doing? What are we measuring? What does it look like? Or where do we have gaps, and how can we shore that up so we could cascade that up further? And there'll always be opportunities, right? But I think sometimes we have to brag about what we're doing, or even what we've learned. Sometimes a learning is just as good as, hey, we tried this. It was brand new. We tested it. And here's what we learned. Maybe it didn't succeed, but now we're going to do this because we learned.
Exactly. It's like that. I think there's two themes that are coming up for me. It's like obviously the simplicity theme, especially when disseminating results to higher ups and maybe the board, other individuals that are making key decisions. It's like, let's not overwhelm those individuals. Let's keep it simplistic. They're not in the day-to-day. They're not in the weeds like we are, right? Yeah. So let's make sure we have that kind of executive style dashboard, if you will. And then I think one thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like just that fail forward mentality, Melanie, that you're adopting, and around, hey, we're gonna move forward with this. We have a hypothesis. Great. If it doesn't work, what are the learnings gleaned, and how can we ensure we don't go that route moving forward, kind of thing? Exactly.
And that's how nothing changes. So you have to try new things to discover new things that may.
You're bringing the quotes, Melanie. You're I love it. I love it. I got to get better with mine. Come on. Hey, what's the current team structure at Fox? And from there, what's one capability you wish you had more of right now?
Ooh.
Talk to me about that. Yeah, putting you on the spot.
So start with structure. So we have kind of our campaigns team that's dedicated to digital marketing, design, messaging, communications, also marketing analytics. So they handle those pieces. And then we have a community engagement, community impact team, and they are very much, as a credit union, boots on the ground, out in the community. We participate in a lot of events, work with a lot of nonprofits. And a lot of that's brand too, like getting your brand out there. Logo anyone sees out there, our team put it there. So someone has to coordinate that. So those are our two aspects. And then we also have a foundation, which we stay closely connected with. So that kind of, I'm connected in that realm of, let's make sure we're complementing. The foundation has pillars. We also have our community strategies we're working toward that we're complementing and not competing. So that's the makeup of the team. And what was the second part of the question?
Well, just in terms of one capability you wish you had more of right now. I'm curious. Yeah.
Great one. I think storytelling. So that's something we're working on right now, and I'm really passionate about. And it's a tough one. So like everybody knows stories are impactful, right?
Sure.
But capturing them or finding the person willing to talk about it and the right story can be a little hard, or it takes time, like to coordinate, right? And you've got all the other projects. So I'm excited. We're focusing more on that this year, and not I'd say the typical like, hey, I saved a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of back to the commodity, but diving deeper more into like something through generations that someone experienced, or our business members, like, I just call so-and-so, like things that you hear and we hear every day, but we don't always tell the stories about.
Sure.
So yeah, I'd say that's mine.
Yeah, you're spot on, and you're really touching on a theme that's been pretty consistent throughout all of our interviews within this credit union series around storytelling specifically. And people are trying to, I'd say it's a tough nut to crack in certain cases too. It's like, what does that mean to you? And I think you've articulated it well. I love what you brought up in terms of kind of that community outreach team and the foundation. It's, obviously the community aspect of credit unions, but like making sure you're immersed in that community, not only the benefits with, local SEO and other strategies and paid media, et cetera, but like, hey, Fox is a fixture of this area, of this designated marketing area. Like they're well known, they're actively involved, they are a participant. And I think that's really important. And that goes a long way with direct and indirect attribution in terms of the success of that local branch.
Yeah. So, 100%. Yep.
I love that. Let's, we talked about your team a little bit. Let's say you're evaluating a new marketing hire. What do you look for most, or like that job, look for in a candidate that most job descriptions miss, for example? I know it's tough, like, hey, create a custom cover letter and, customize your resume as much as possible. Talk to me about kind of the interview and those intangibles that you're looking for in a candidate.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it is kind of culture fit and some of those softer skills. Totally. Being curious, being a learner, especially in the like everything that's happening now, like being excited about learning. Really, like we kind of have to learn. So if you're like, I don't really want to learn anything new, that may be a little tougher. You can't do it, but I think that curiosity, learning, having a growth mindset, that seeing opportunities that others may see as challenges, a lot of times is what can drive you forward. And I think the other piece would be just collaboration, right? Sure, I think some of the most successful teams or people they're able to move things forward by collaborating with others and not just staying in their silo. So being able to influence others or explain something or help bring people together around a common goal. Those types of things are so important in marketing because it can't happen on its own.
Such an understated trait just around curiosity. And I think you can pick up on that so quickly and passion for something and just, I want to learn. And that just voracious learning appetite that's a key hire, and like harnessing that emotional intelligence as well too. It's like, let's get people in here that aren't, not necessarily around the book smarts, but more on, the street smarts in certain cases too. So I love that.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears here once again. We're doing a lot of gear switching. In terms of kind of the industry outlook, where things are heading, we've touched on it numerous times throughout the conversation today around large language models. Obviously, AI is just everywhere, and there's a lot of pressure. How are you finding? I know we talked about evaluating different tools and avenues, but what are your thoughts and positioning, again, within a highly regulated industry in terms of AI usage, how it's going to benefit you and your team from a marketing standpoint, but also potentially how it's going to benefit your members specifically? Sure.
So I think there's a lot of opportunity, and I think a lot of us get down rabbit holes and
totally
learn testing things or trying things out and then figure out oh, I can do that. Oh, I didn't even think I could try it with try this with it. So, but I do think that is just using it to learn and then talking to others about how they're using it is a lot of what my team is doing, or even just when we get together, hey, what is in your personal life? What are you using it for? Those types of things. I think, obviously as in the industry we're in, security is a big concern. So we have to make sure we're within those realms. We have Copilot, like within our walls and enterprise. So
For sure.
certainly, helping people understand what they could use that tool for within their role, and also having the right kind of champions in place. So like while everybody in the whole company may not use it as much or a certain way, we've kind of created this champions kind of group of like key folks that are like more on the transformational. They're like kind of AI as a tool, a teammate, and then like the transformational stuff. And not everybody's in the same place anywhere, right? But I think kind of learning, I mean, how can we use it for efficiency and the things that like, I don't want to hit this button every day anymore. Like, like I'd rather be able to go talk to some members of that, right? That type of thing. So looking at it from that, I'm like, what are those pain points in your job that maybe we could help? Like it could help, while I also, going back again, sometimes you just got to also remember the people piece. So use it, but also talk to the people.
Totally. Well, I think you're touching on a good point here too. It's like, there's all these buzzwords or things like all these efficiencies that you can have with AI. And it's funny, as we implemented and obviously workflows and process a number of years ago and continue to evolve it for our own agency. As for our clients, as we implement it for them, it's funny too on the, yes, there's efficiencies, but the output is significantly more. So in certain cases, you're doing more work.
Right.
And it's like, it's supposed to create all these, these efficiencies. You're not supposed to work as much, right? No.
Right. Right.
So,
and sometimes more is just more, not necessarily better. So like, how do we make sure we remember both?
One thing too, that's coming up a lot, Melanie, I'm not sure if you're seeing as well, is that a great use case for AI components or building out or items, workflows, et cetera, is around, repeatable, mundane, recurring tasks that are time consuming, as you kind of alluded to as well. But we're finding and trying to harness more of the strategic mindset and that portion of people's brains. However, in certain cases, we're noticing that individuals are becoming far too reliant on it, right? And not necessarily ideating nearly as much as they perhaps were before. And what's happening, I'm not sure if you're seeing this as well, but you and I have been in our respective fields for quite some time, so we can call out output when that is not accurate, right? Versus maybe the younger generation is conducting some basic prompts, getting an output and thinking that's gospel, right? Treating that as gospel. So it's scary a little bit. What are your thoughts around that? Yeah, especially
like when we think about marketing, there are certain things that are black and white. I don't think marketing is always black and white, especially when you get to perception and human perception and empathy, like some of those types of things. So if it's producing an output and you haven't learned kind of some of those fundamentals, how do you judge if it's good or not? Like, it's done, but is it good? Right?
It looks great, Melanie. It looks great.
Like, it's like, oh, this looks good. I mean, but I don't know, is it? Like, how do you, it's judgment a little bit. So I do, it's going to be interesting.
I know.
How it evolves. I think for those like learning and growing in marketing, I see also like professors who are teaching, which I love, like, how is AI changing customers? Like, let's understand the human piece of how people work, but also like, what is AI doing and how are those two things coming together? I think that will help kind of young marketers. Like, how do you be strategic while also using the tools?
Yeah. And trying to cut through some of the noise, right? There's, despite, I say this all the time, but despite what your LinkedIn feed says, like, we're not rushing to cut our marketing staff or fire people. We want to empower them to utilize AI, but utilize it correctly and responsibly as much as possible. So, it's
exactly.
Key phrase there. It will be interesting, and it already has been.
Very much so.
Yeah. Yes. Let's do a couple of last questions here. We'll get you out of here. But again, really appreciate your time, Melanie, and your insights. It's been awesome. Most marketing leaders have a framework or a book or a moment that fundamentally changed how they think. I'm assuming some of that came in your, I know it probably came in your kind of earlier years when you were working for health insurance, but talk to me about what yours is. Is there, and I think that correlates into motivation and your progressive thought process. Is that something that maybe you defined earlier in your career and then evolved most recently? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know that it was just one thing, but I think some of it is mentors I had, things I learned from experience in doing, but then also just like exploring and talking to others outside in other industries or in the larger, and I love to read. So I'm usually reading like 2 or 3 books at once, just as like what else is happening outside of my thing that I'm really close to, or, listening to podcasts and what people are doing. So I think it's formed through others that I follow and look up to in certain spaces of marketing within financial services, healthcare, and then like just marketing in general. That's formed a lot of that. And something I've been thinking about, and I don't know if I read this somewhere or if I've just been thinking about it. So I quite could have like seen it somewhere. Is just this element of transformation and how everything is transforming. But without like the differentiation piece of it, it just accelerates sameness. So how do we transform while remembering we need to differentiate at the same time?
Yeah, I love that. That's massive. Yeah, good on you. I think it's just a testament to your career and the curiosity you continue to bring. So I love to hear that. All right, groundbreaking foreshadowing question here. Where do you think the credit union model goes in the next 10 years? And how much does marketing have to do with that? I know there's, we're dealing with a lot here in terms of the AI integration, which we've touched on numerous times. We're doing a new consumer habits and ability to conduct research and obviously the differentiation between banks and credit unions and other financial avenues that people can take. Talk to us about that in terms of how you see the credit union model evolving over the next 10 years.
Yeah. So I think it's so hard to know because like 6 months ago things have changed, but 10 years is, but I feel like a strength and an opportunity for credit unions is against like staying focused on the people component, like, because we often see things shift of like, oh, tech, AI, data, and then people just don't want it anymore. Just like, can I just sit down with and talk to a person face to face? So I do think there is an aspect of like, how do we continue to do what we do well in building relationships with people, which we can like, it can help us through digital, but sometimes it is that face to face, that community. Like, how do you build something people want to be a part of, right? So I think if we can stay close to that, I don't think that will ever get old. That would be nice.
Yeah, spot on. And it's a lot of what many marketers continue to neglect. And it's just like, let's kind of break out of just the day-to-day metrics and get in and have real conversations with individuals. Melanie, absolute pleasure. Really appreciate your time and insights. Where can people find and interact with you, whether it's LinkedIn or the Fox website? Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So foxcu.org is our website for Fox, and then connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I love connecting with folks on there, doing virtual coffee chats, anything. So yeah, definitely connect.
Amazing. Thanks again for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to Built to Convert. If you're serious about growth, don't just listen. Subscribe, leave a review, and follow us for new episodes that drop straight into your feed. Until next time, keep building.